I hate soccer.
Sorry, I couldn't do this in the summer.
Yeah, that's all right.
Like I wanted to have you on on the Sunday, but I ended up having to leave and everything.
Yeah,
So like
I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, anyways.
dude. But that was really the really launch point of me and this podcast of like, you know what, I could let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
You know, because you had Alexi and stuff. And it's like that was.
Yeah.
And the first thing I said to Alexi Lawless was like, I said thank you, because the '94 World Cup like changed my life.
Yeah.
And that's what made me fall in love with soccer.
Yeah.
I mean, and then now, obviously.
Well, and he was amazing, right? Like the entire time he was there, he was just so accessible, and
He was so giving of his time. Anybody that pulled him aside, he gets a bad rap because everybody thinks he's like bought and paid for, but he's not.
No.
He's not. I had a real conversation with him.
Yeah.
You know, and even off camera, like he was legit. He wasn't just this whatever, man.
Yeah.
It's
but even
annoying.
at the socials and just,
Oh, great.
Just sat and hung out with him, and it was, just shooting the.
What made you want to do the expo?
I think it's something that we've been thinking about. I've been thinking about for a long time. You spend a lot of time and money to get to the national convention, which I think is, as we were just talking about, I think has been a staple for education, for networking, socializing forever, right? And I've been going, since I was in my 20s. So, but I've always viewed it as being difficult. There's a lot of staff that can't get there. It's expensive. There's a lot of clubs that maybe don't have a budget for it, or you've got somebody that's working a 9 to 5. They've got to take some time off work to go. So I think for us it was just more of creating something here that was more local to Michigan. We've always we have aspirations of it being a national event,
right?
Which we hope it will be. But it was just trying to create something in our backyard. Get Michigan to kind of wrap its arms around it and then grow. And for us, I think about 3 years ago, we were fortunate enough where Mark Zathy joined our staff.
Yeah,
and he's great. And he started the summit, or the Jags summit, which is an education day where it's kind of an in-service. We bring all of our coaches in. Some of it is classroom. Some of it is, just presentations. And then we have lunch, and then we go, there's some people that run field sessions for us. And so as we started to do that and start doing more coaching education with our club, it was just kind of a good segue to, hey, listen, I think we can pull this off. I'm not going to lie, 2 months before the event, I shot up out of bed and thought, I gotta cancel this thing. Who's gonna be so upset? How many contracts do we have? And I've said this too, like it was 10 times harder than I thought it was going to be. And on Sunday, as it came to a close, it was 10 times more rewarding than I thought it would be, right?
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So,
yeah, because it's like, because the impact that it's having on Michigan, but also it's like, wow, we did it.
Yeah.
And it was still, it's smaller, obviously, than the convention, but it's,
yeah.
I mean, I saw so many people that I hadn't seen in 10 years, like Dan Raven, who's out at LAFC or whatever, and we would always say at the convention, Michigan Mafia.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know so many people? That's the Michigan Mafia.
Yeah.
And it really is a mafia. And for you to build something that's inside of Michigan, you love the mafia just to like come and everybody came home. And that's how Alexi, first time he was home in probably like 20 years, he said.
Yeah, and that was a big thing is we wanted to try to tie in some Michigan people and get them back. And, we had the opportunity to reach out to Alexi's, group and we were fortunate enough to get him in, and, Adidas helped a lot with that too.
Yeah.
It was great. And I think, that was the big thing. Even having them to cut the ribbon, and it was just something cool. It was something that, this is the first one. It's in Michigan. He's probably, he's one of the most well-known soccer people in the country, but
absolutely
definitely from Michigan. And he's got a following, and he's got a personality, and it was just great to have him in and around. And I think he talked to so many different people, and it was great.
Would you ever do it outside of Michigan?
Yeah, I think it's funny because I think there's a lot of people that look at it and go, it's like you're doing a podcast and you do a great job, and everyone's like, oh, I could do a podcast, and
Absolutely.
or they see the Jags and they go, oh, I should start a club. It's easy.
We could do that.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
So I think when people saw the expo, and even some people on our own, within the Jags or within Michigan who knew what we were doing, they were kind of like, oh,
We could do that.
yeah, we could do this, and it's like,
You have
hey,
no
get it.
idea.
Have at it, And so I've had some interesting conversations with people, a couple of people that have asked me to go into their town and let's, kind of sit down and see if we could do something and partner up. And I think there's a space for that. I just want to get ours here, the first one that we've started, kind of. I want to improve that first, and so I think I'm very aware that I don't want to try to do, 2 or 3 or 4 of these. Let's just see if we can focus on the one we have, and
Exactly.
And I think it's what we're hoping here is that it becomes something that does draw people in from other states, and we did. We had, talk about Michigan, and Don Gemmell came in from Florida,
Yep.
right, and so. And Dan from California, and so we had a lot of different. The USU Soccer was great because they brought in some executive directors and some different people from states, and Tom Condone and Chris Bentley and those guys were great. So we did have a national presence. It's just we want to try to drive more people in and get more clubs involved. So I think once we do that, if we can prove that it can be successful, even more successful than it was. Because it exceeded our expectations once it got going. Right, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I think we could look to do another one or do something different or help somebody in a different community. But
Yeah.
it's this one's enough for now.
Heck yeah. So what? Okay, you've obviously been part of the Jags for how long now? 30?
Oh, jeez, it's yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be
Something
about, could be about
20,
30 years, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, your tournament was always like one of my favorites to take my teams,
Yeah.
right? And looking back, it's like, whoa, they were a small club then.
Yeah, we were.
And now it's like, and you guys were big.
Yeah.
You were one of the biggest clubs. But now it's like, can you talk about like what's gone on like the last like 15 years, not only with Jags but just like Michigan soccer? People get pissed off at me, especially in Buffalo. They get pissed off when I talk about Michigan. They're like, "Whoa, why don't you go back?" I'm like, "Okay, I'm going back now." Drives me nuts.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize the growth from where we started. And I'll be honest, when I first got involved with the Jags, we would do tryouts on Saturday and then Wednesday. And we wouldn't even do Sunday because we would wait for all the other kids and the other clubs that would get cut to come and make our teams. And so very parent-driven, a lot of parent volunteers. It was, quote-unquote trainers at that time.
Yeah.
And, when I was part of the management team that built Wixom, I remember one of the times I almost got fired.
This building?
Yeah, we tried.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I was wore a couple hats to try to make a living back in the day. So, I tried to get the Jags board at the time to come in here and train once a week, and they pushed back, and we can't do that. It's too expensive. And now obviously you train 2 or 3 times a week in the wintertime. So,
Right.
But yeah, it's been a slow process. I would say. Surrounding yourself. I try to surround myself with the best people I can and people that are better at things than I am, and in every facet, marketing, coaching, administration. And so we're lucky we have really great people, which I think is the core of our club. And the biggest thing that's happened for us is I never really had a vision for growth or for expansion like a Rush model or an Albion or Surf.
Now Surf, yeah.
It was more of us just organically. One of the guys that's been with me forever, one of my partners in the club is Mike Scobie, who I love, and he was asked to join, take over a neighboring club, and we talked about it for a couple weeks, and he wanted his own thing, but he didn't. He liked the Jags, and so, anyways, we they basically had Scobie halftime, and we kept them halftime, and then eventually we took over that organization. And there was trust built, and we were neighboring communities anyway. So instead of fighting for players or for having that rivalry, we all became one, and that's kind of how it started with Huron Valley and CW3. It was people that said, "Hey, we like what you do. We trust you guys, and we want to be a part of it. Here, can you help us?"
Right.
And so that's how we kind of started to grow. You had like same thing in Dearborn, and so then we, with the addition of the 4 rush branches, when Mark Zathy and Brett and Eric Rudland and Sam and those guys became a part of it, then it really grew even bigger, right?
Right.
So, but as far as Michigan goes, it's hard to explain to people if you haven't grown up here how competitive it is.
I just had Doug on.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about that. And how competitive it is at an early age.
Yeah. And I think, listen, we talk about it all the time, and I've got buddies who have kids and they're young and like when to start. It's like, is it crazy to think that you have kids at 6 joining teams and doing it? Yeah, it is. But yeah, if we don't do it, other people are going to do it. So you try to do it the best you can, and you try to, develop the players and make sure that as they're coming through that, the big thing is we talk about all the time. And I think part of even coming out of COVID is like, are they having fun?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, do they enjoy it? Do they love it? Like you said,
right.
The 94 World Cup for you was like a turning point. Like, we want to foster the love for the game.
Right.
I was very fortunate that I grew up with a father who played, so I got to see high-level soccer at a very early age, and I was spoiled in that regard because I didn't have to go very far, right? I was always in and around it. I was always in and around professional players, so I learned to just love it by watching it and being around. It was part of my growing up. But you don't necessarily have that in a lot of places, right? And so, we're always just trying to create the best environment, and it's fun.
Do you consider Michigan like an old soccer community compared to other places? Like, I'll tell you what, Buffalo is very young.
Yeah.
And anybody that actually played when they were younger gets mad at me when I say that. It's like, guys, you have no idea what Michigan's like, what St. Louis is like what New Jersey is like. It's all third-generation kids. All these, this hotbed. Yeah. I always say Michigan's a hotbed, and people are like, Michigan's a hotbed? I'm like, yeah. You got what? How many ECNL and GA? And we're just talking about the girl side.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
I think, I do look at Michigan as being, kind of a founding, state, so to speak, as far as soccer goes. And I think sometimes if you actually look at it, if you looked at where like the NASL franchises were, and I can only speak to it because when I came over here to the States when my dad was playing, it was the NASL at the time. Yeah. So you look where the NASL franchises were, and then all the other, like the indoor franchises, MISL, the NPSL, where I think you have players who, as they retired, got back into the game, get back to the game, and started clubs or working in clubs. I think that's a big part of it. Like Cleveland. The Crunch, and a lot of those guys started, the Force and different clubs down there. And so I think that's part of it. Obviously, you have to have a large population. But I think if there's a history of professional soccer in those states, I think it also helps, right?
Yeah, for sure. You got the Rockers, the Neon, and then... Yeah.
Even in college, I'd go down and watch the Rockers games down in Cobo and have a good time. And,
Cobo.
I think it's important for us to... it's one of the reasons why we do our men's team and women's team in the summertime, to try to get our college players to come back, but we want our kids to go and watch, right? And
exactly.
Try to see as many
high-level players.
Games, right? Yeah, college players, professional players. So
this episode is brought to you by Grips Soccer Socks. Guys, stop spending $55 on a pair of socks when there are other options available. Grip Soccer was founded by a father and son who were sick of paying $55 for socks. Go to gripsoccer.com and use promo code IHateSoccer for 15% off. That's gripsoccer.com. Promo code I hate soccer.
Yeah, I think it's a big piece. But yeah, I definitely look at Michigan, and I try to explain it to people that you don't. I think unless you've been here, unless you've coached here, it's a different animal.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, when you were trying to, when you were trying to grow Jags, let's say 10 years ago, before Rush, before Z came over and whatnot, did you ever try to like apply to the ECNL or apply to MLS Next? Or, well, I guess it was the DA then, or completely different. It was the DA. Did you ever apply and then they said no, and then you were like, man, if we had a little bit more quality or bigger, or like, did that make you want to grow?
Yeah, I think traditionally in Michigan, it was Hawks, Wolves,
And
Vardar,
Yep.
right? And I think a lot of that had to do with obviously some great people that run those clubs,
Yep.
good coaches. You talk about former professional players that that have played in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
In some cases, like Lars and Doug and those guys that grew up in Michigan and then
Yep.
ended up playing indoor, and and the Lupiniks who had great careers at Oakland University. So they had a lot of those high level coaches and good player pools, and they also had platforms, right? So if you're in the ECNL or if you're in the academy at that point, you were playing at a higher level, and that would draw players from clubs like ours and others, right? And so as we keep trying to push players forward, which I think healthy clubs should do, it's their job, right? It's our job. We would lose players to that, and so it was always a goal of ours to say, okay, we want to push ourselves to get to improve at every area, the coaching, the players, everything, and we want what they have, right? And it was hard because we were a club that had to fight and scratch for everything.
Yeah.
The MRL and the National League, and then we did get into the girls, the DA for girls
Yep.
at one point, and then it folded. And then
2020.
and it was, I think, a lot of good people got together, and we're fortunate that they started the girls' academy.
Yep.
And so we slid right into there, and it's been very good for us. And then on the boys' side, we're fortunate. We hired Pete Bozoski, who was working for the Philadelphia Union. Actually, when I was an assistant,
And he's your MLS Next director.
He is, yeah,
Right,
yeah, and he was.
I met him at Fest.
Yeah, he was when I was a volunteer on the men's side with my dad a long time ago at Eastern. We recruited Pete out of Churchill High School, so he still reminds me of that.
Back when Eastern
every
had
day.
men's.
When I had a men's team. And so when he was in Philly, I went out to spend time with him there. Just because I was, the Philadelphia Union, the academy for players is
very
well, it's
respected and
for sure,
one of the best
for sure. And they have to develop a lot of players, right? And you don't necessarily get some of your, the Beckhams or the Messis and that are going to go to Philly.
Correct.
And they've done a great job with the Aaronsons and McKenzie and some of those players. So it's their model. So I wanted to spend some time with them just so I could learn and what could I steal from them and bring back to the Jags kind of thing. And while we were there, he called me and like a week later and he said, hey, I think I'm going to come home. I'm like, is there a job? And I'm like, absolutely. And so when he came home, we applied through MLS to get an MLS Next, and they gave us 13s and 14s.
Perfect.
And then they gave us 13s, 14s, 15s, and 16s the year after, and then we kind of grew into the platform. So
do you agree with like how that is? Is like, okay, let's see how your 13s and 14s go, and then like slowly build, or now what they're gonna do is the academy and then the homegrown and then the.
Yeah. So for us, it was perfect because we knew that we had good enough player pools at 13 and 14 to compete. What we were also aware of is that we didn't think that we had the player pools that were willing to forego high school boys soccer.
That's right.
So for us, it was a good way to say, okay, look, these are the 13s and 14s. Let's show them the benefits of staying and playing all year round. Right. And again, I'm not one of those guys. Most fun I ever had was playing high school soccer, right? So, but I think it's something that you have to offer, and it's a player choice, a parent choice, family choice. But it was great for us the way they let us grow into the program, and so I don't know that they're necessarily doing that anymore. Because now they've added the academy piece in, right?
Right.
And so, if you're uncertain about that, you can go to the apply
And
for
then
the academy
see.
level. But yeah, it was great for us, and I think there's I think for us, especially on the men's side, the boys' side, it's definitely the best competition in the country, in my
Absolutely.
opinion. And so, when you're a part of that, it's something to be proud of. And we're, to your question earlier, we are proud of ourselves and excited that we keep getting better, because we do want to be at the highest levels, right,
Yeah.
in the country, and provide our kids those opportunities. The other great thing about the MLS Next is that I think our kids are getting more of an opportunity now to be seen by the truly professional academies, the
Yep.
clubs, and we're pushing our kids that, hey, if you're good enough and you want to go. It's our job, right? So whether it's 6, 8, 10 kids a year that are that'll leave us and go play in Minnesota or Austin or Cincinnati, Columbus. So, and we celebrate that, because that's an amazing opportunity for those kids.
Do you think there's a lot of guys that don't do that try to hold on to their own? Because I had Jordan Allen on, who's at Real Salt Lake. He's the 16s coach there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've posted a couple clips, and he's gotten a lot of people in the comments basically saying, like, how hard it is to get into those academies. And then he was kind of coming back and saying, listen, a lot of coaches won't talk to me if I want, your number 9 up top, and that is your team. They're gonna try to hold on to those players, and hold them back.
I'd be lying if I said I don't think that there are people that do that, and I think that's just, everybody can run their organization the way they want to, right? And it's it's like setting up your team to play a certain way.
Of course,
everybody can do whatever they want.
Right.
For us, I look at that as being unhealthy, because how can you have to push players to continue to get better, and we know where we are in the soccer food chain, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
If you want to be a pro and you have the opportunity to go somewhere like Philly or Cincinnati, that's going to be a better environment than here in Michigan playing for the Jags. And some people are maybe a little bit put off or surprised that I would say something like that. But we know who we are. We do a great job of developing players. But at a certain point, just like every other club, there's somebody that's better than you, and there's somebody that's better for your development, depending on what you want to do. And if you have an aspiration of being a pro, it's our job to try to get you as many opportunities as possible to do that. And even on the girls' side now, right? Those opportunities are coming, and have been for the last couple of years. So yeah, I think it's an important piece for parents when they're looking at clubs to really figure out from a leadership standpoint, what's your philosophy on that. And I'll give you an example. Pete Pazowski was coaching, I think it was the 07s a couple years ago, and went on an amazing run. We were fortunate. We had a couple kids that joined us, that we had a good team as it was. Had a couple kids that joined us from the Tigers and a couple other clubs because they wanted to try the MLS. And they had an unbelievable run, went to the semifinals of the MLS Cup in the summertime, which just getting to that point is even just qualifying is a goal for us, but to get that far. And there was 3 shutouts, I think, or 3 PK shootouts on the way, but they earned that spot. They got there, and then from there 3 kids left. One went to Colorado, I think one went to Dallas, and I think one went to Columbus or Cincinnati. So 87 goals from the team that got to the semifinals.
Gone,
right? And the parents are asking Pete, like, well, what are we going to do? And it's like, well, your son's...
Isn't that a good thing? Now your son is set to...
your son's the next one up. Like, he
fill the gap.
Maybe not 87 goals, but so I think we embrace that and say that's just part of it, and it's part of the process for other players to kind of come in and step into those. And one of those 3 boys just signed a pro contract with Ben Pierman with the USL team. So
where is Ben now?
It's Colton Swan. He's at is that Charleston?
Charleston Battery?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So another great Michigan guy.
Absolutely.
We tried to get him at the expo. He had a conflict with the game too, but we're always going to try. So yeah, Colton Swan signed that contract just I think this last couple of weeks. So I think again, it's like, do you want to be a pro? Do you want to be a high-level college player where you're getting looks from the top 25 country? I think we need to push those players on. Can you do it here? Absolutely. Can you do it with Wolves and Vardar? And 100%. But the more opportunity you get from a professional club like that. I think
Exactly.
if the parents are up for it and the player wants it, then we try to support it as much as possible.
Do you think that there's layers to that? It's like, okay, you guys are in the MLS Next, pushing guys on to the MLS Academy, and then there's some that are not in the MLS Next or the ECNL on the girl side or boy side or the GA, and then you don't need them, or like the clubs that, I don't want to say below you, but the lower level, smaller community clubs.
Sure.
I think Matt Pokovich. Do you know who Matt Pokovich
Yeah,
is?
I know Matt.
Matt was one of my biggest mentors and big influence on me. And he used to say it was an identity crisis, that some of these clubs have an identity crisis. And when he was trying to build his small club in Lake Orion, it was like, we're not going to have an identity crisis. We're not competing with the Vardars and the Wolves. We're just competing with, the Rochester Soccer Club or whatever.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so do you guys, how is it in Michigan now? Is it the smaller clubs won't push kids onto you guys, or?
No, well, listen, I think there's a little bit of both, right? And I think a lot of times you'll have some of those clubs that feel like, oh, it's too early, or they don't like. I think the culture is changing in Michigan and all over the country, I think, where people are now starting to realize, like, they've got more resources than us. Like I just talked about any of the MLS academies, right? They've got more resources than us.
Right.
And I think people are starting to realize that, and it's part of, as leaders of clubs, helping that player or that family help their journey, right? And know that sometimes you have to hop away and let them go in order for you to help facilitate what that path looks like for them, and that's hard. We do have some clubs that I think when they realize that, they do reach out now, right? And so we grew up in Michigan with all the the poaching rules and all that kind of stuff, and it was ingrained in everybody. Like, you can't talk to a kid, and you can't.
Right.
My philosophy now is, and I think it resonates with our staff, is like, we only want people that want to be here. And if you, for some reason, you're here a week and you want to leave, that's okay. If people reach out and they want to come, we invite, we encourage them to come and check out what we're about, not just come once. The whole, I think, the tryout, you go to a Saturday, Sunday tryout at the end of a year and try to make a brand new team. To me, that's pretty archaic now, right? And so what we try to encourage when kids and parents reach out, it's like, hey, you can come to a couple training sessions, ask some questions. We have kids that reach out to us from an hour and 15, 20 minutes away. And we're like, you need to drive here 3 or 4 or 5 times, especially in the middle of the wintertime, and realize if that's a huge sacrifice. Do you want to make that? Do you like the way that the coaching staff interacts with the players? What's the culture? So there's so many different things that I think over a period of time, kids should go into environments and parents should go into environments, ask the right questions, see if it's a fit. And not, it can't be this 2 days at the end where everybody panics to try to find it. And it's not like that. It's changed.
And going from tryout to tryout to tryout to tryout, and then everybody sets their time at the exact same time, so you have to choose.
Yeah. And I think, but more and more people are becoming aware of what they are and who they are. And you can always have aspirations to grow as an organization, as everybody should, as we do. But we know, like we said, when, Don Dono, who played for us for a long time, and he committed to Michigan State, and he's playing his last year at Austin because he wants to play at a higher level so that when he gets to Damon and Michigan State, he's got a better chance of playing. It makes all the sense in the world if he's foregoing his senior year and all the things that come along with that. That's a big sacrifice. But what he realizes he wants to do is he wants to be the best player he can at Michigan State, and then maybe hopefully after that move on. So we recognize where we are, and we have to push kids like that. Not push, but allow kids, help kids, guide kids to make those decisions. And I think there's more and more clubs, even like more community-based clubs, that I think are starting to realize that, right? Like, get your community-based team together at 7, 8, 9. Some of them will stay together forever through their whole process, and they're all friends. But then the kids that really show a passion for it, who are good, and
that
like
want more commitment.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is what the clubs are starting to recognize more is it's not a reflection of of us if somebody wants to leave. It's just they would like something more than we can give them.
Right.
And we talk about, like, you brought up the Rochester Soccer Club, who I think is, it's a big organization. I grew up in Rochester.
Yeah.
My first soccer T-shirt in Michigan was a rah-rah soccer T-shirt, So, I'm familiar with the area. My mom still lives in the area. And, like, you've got them now, and they've partnered with the Stars. And so, like, they're doing it internally where their kids move to the Stars because they partnered with the Revolution. And so you've also got clubs that
Right.
recognize they want to do things, and they can kind of create that next tier for themselves. Or you have people that go, we're happy with who we are.
Yeah.
We have a parent who used to be the president of the Farmington Soccer Club, and he kept his kids in Farmington for quite a while. And then as they wanted to do a little bit more, his daughter came over, his son's come over, and his son just committed to a school in Ohio, and he plays for the MLS Next team. So for Steve Clark. So it's an example of president of a local club who, for his own kids, wanted something more. So they got what they needed. They got great coaching. They had a lot of friends in the community that played together. And then when other kids start to maybe choose other sports or are just okay, they just like it. They
Right.
don't love it, but your kid loves it. You have to find that environment, and then you get into an environment where, okay, all of these kids love it and want to train and want to work hard. And
Yeah.
that's different. So.
Can you talk about your club structure? You just said something brilliant earlier when Brooks, you and I were talking, and you said something about the Junior Jags.
Yeah.
And if the Junior Jags went away, Junior Jags was.
It's the lifeblood of our club. So our Junior Jags program is kind of like our first step, so to
What
speak.
age is 6?
Yeah, we have Cubs. It's
Okay,
actually
like
Cubs
3,
and juniors.
2
Yes,
years old.
Yes,
Yeah,
basically. Yeah.
okay.
And so they're fun classes, and we do it like one day where they get to, it's just training and fun games, and then another day where they'll be put into groups and play. They're not teams. There's no scores, but it's just a way that
Of course.
and they've got a Junior Jags jersey, and it's how we really, it's one of the most important programs in our club where kids come in, enjoy it. It's fun. It makes me feel old because I can come here on a Friday and Saturday, and there's kids that I've coached, and their kids are here at Junior Jags. Like, hi, coach, and I'm like, okay. But it's and it's really important. Like, I know here locally at the Novi area, Tricia Wellick, who actually, when I was on staff at Easter on the women's team, she played there.
Okay.
She's a teacher in the area. Her own daughter plays in the club, and she runs the juniors program with Alex, and just it's an amazing program.
Yeah.
So I had my own kids playing it back when they were young. So that's a big piece of the structure is just having that ability for them to come in, play, have fun, and then kids who want to try out can try out. But we have kids that stay in the juniors program for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and it's fun.
I feel like there's so many clubs that they're so platform, like they care so much about what platform. Oh, we need to get an MLS Next. We need to get an ECNL. But then they don't have anything down here that's feeding into. You're always having to rely on outside clubs sending you players or kids eventually coming to you. And if you just build a very, very strong youth academy, that could sometimes fill in those gaps.
It's no doubt the biggest reason that we've been able to grow and develop and become more competitive at the highest levels is those players. Barry Scott, who won a national championship, USYS championship years ago with a boys group. I think there was 18 boys in that team. 8 of them started at Junior Jags. Like that was one of the first things. Like when we had a fun get together with the parents afterwards, and somebody brought that up. They're like, "Yeah, we all did Junior Jags together," and it's just a reminder for us that like this is where, and that's kind of like the tagline, like where it all starts, right? And so, but you have kids that'll do Junior Jags, and then they don't like it, or they do, and like I said, there's kids that do Junior Jags for years just because it's enough for them.
Yeah.
And then there's kids right away that are like, we
want
love
more.
this, we want to go to a team,
Exactly.
But yeah, it's definitely the lifeblood of the club, and a big reason why we can be more successful.
This episode is brought to you by Salt Athletic. A couple weeks ago, I'm training one of my college players. She plays at Kentucky. I noticed that she has one of these salt bags. I see them on social media all the time, and I was wondering, I was like, okay, does this thing really work? Well, she opened up her bag and pulled her cleats out, and it was the worst smelling pair of cleats maybe that I've ever smelled. While they were in the bag, I didn't smell anything. And it was amazing that it could trap in all of the smell so that her bag doesn't stink, that her car doesn't stink. I could not vouch for this product more. As a goalkeeper, I wish I had this 20 years ago for my gloves, and they do have a glove bag. Go to the link in the description for 10% off and get rid of all the smell, guys.
Yeah. There used to be like a saying that, okay, soccer people in charge of the business, or business people and you know, like,
Right.
like you guys have a recruiting coordinator. Not everybody does. Not every club does. You just said it. You have another position. Like you have marketing. You have a head of marketing, and not everybody does. Because I constantly go on these club websites.
Sure.
Because I want to try to contact coaches, and sometimes they don't like reach back to me, and I look and like, oh, they don't have marketing. They don't have, you know, a college recruitment. Like, can you talk about like what?
For sure.
Like your business savvy, and your structure is built like a real business.
Yeah, I think we try to model ourselves after. We don't try to compare ourselves to other clubs, although you constantly do that, right? Because you're competing and players make decisions, but we want to try to run our club. And I think years ago, when somebody would like, it's just a business, it was almost like a negative, right? It was almost like a way a parent or somebody would make it sound
like it's just about the money.
Yeah, it makes it sound like it's dirty, right? And so we would always kind of shy away from it, but we want it to be run professionally. Parents spend a lot of money to play in clubs like ours, and it should be run efficiently. It should be run professionally, and there's a lot of different pieces to it. And so that's the one thing for my evolution with this club is I went from, a phys ed teacher for a year to opening up facilities to being in college coaching to getting involved in this club, and I got a lot of great experience. But from a business standpoint, I wasn't trained or even thought of as being a business person, but I slowly have kind of developed at least a little bit of acumen for running a club, right? And so learned a lot along the way. Biggest thing is, after I make a mistake, try not to make it again.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, surround myself with people who are better than things. We have Leslie, who's an amazing administrator. We just brought in Rochelle a year ago, head of marketing, which was never really a full-time position for us. But and you got to have people in each part of your club that are organized and that are good leaders. And so we're really fortunate in that. But we look at us. We don't compare ourselves to other clubs as much as I want to compare ourselves to like Fortune 500 companies. Like, how are they running? How are they? And that sounds kind of lofty, but I want us to be organized, and I want everybody to know their jobs. And it's constantly evolving, constantly changing. But yeah, as a leadership group in our club, I think we've come a long way as far as kind of streamlining some things. I think we're very fortunate too, because as we get to the size as we are, it's easier for us to bring more people in and keep building on it, right? And so instead of just staying small, like how we were, okay, well, now we need a head of marketing. Now we need an events coordinator, because Camille, who has helped Scobie and Derek and these guys put on this great event today and tomorrow, and yesterday with the GIA talent identification. I mean, Camille is a big piece of that. So, as you know, if it was me, I wouldn't be thinking about the table that we need and the monitor and there's just a lot of little things that go into it, the presentation, the things gifts that we're giving the coaches, and
absolutely.
So to have somebody who organizes all that and works with the soccer people and the business people to make sure there's a budget and make sure that we're putting on a good product and that we're successful. It takes a village.
And director of education, that's what I was thinking of, Z.
Yeah.
And like that's brilliant. And like, can you talk about like his role? I'm trying to get. I will eventually get Z on here, I promise. But he He ran my D license in this very room. In this very room.
Yeah.
There used to be a bar there.
Yeah, oh yeah, I remember. Might have had one. Yeah, no, Mark's great, and I think that's part of the evolution too. Is like he was with Northville for a long time, which became Michigan Rush,
Yep.
and we were with Jags, and Novi and Northville competes not just in soccer, but high school sports and all the other things, right? And so, there was
That
a
used to be
rivalry.
the best high school game,
Oh yeah,
especially on the girls' side.
Yeah.
Novi Northville used to be insane.
yeah. Well, I mean, because you could have anywhere from 10 to 12, 15 Division I soccer players in those games back in the day, right?
Exactly.
So I think that's part of the evolution too. Is people, I think, who have competed against each other over time. Are now starting to work together more, and you see some, for good or bad, you see less clubs and more bigger clubs, and so, but yeah, to have the opportunity to work with Mark, he's been great. His primary role for us is, like you said, coaching education. So I think one of the biggest things that we realized that we were not good at early on, and still we can always improve, is that you hire a young coach, and you say you've got the U10, B team, and C team, and
Good luck.
see you at the Christmas party, and it's like, and typically a lot of the people, if you have the right hiring process or people, it goes well, but sometimes it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And so when I look back on people who helped me, you always have to have a group of people where you look at and go, God, like for me, like growing up at Eastern Michigan Camp, Brian Board was a name that he was great, and I learned a lot from him. And so I think what we've tried to do with Mark is, and he's great, is he'll go to site visits. So he'll go to the different satellites that we have, the different locations, and he'll just watch sometimes. Sometimes he'll hop in. Sometimes a coach will say, hey, you mind warming up my goalkeeper? Or, and Mark just loves it and just hops in, and he's great. The big thing is I think when somebody shows up and it's an evaluation or somebody, it's everybody gets a little tense, right? And we're trying to change that, where Mark's there to help you, and other directors are doing the same thing too, branch directors. But a lot of times with the directors you have, they're coaching their own teams, or they don't have enough time to really dig in and help younger coaches, or even not even younger coaches, just more unexperienced coaches.
Right.
So Mark will sit with a James Renton at Novi and say, James, give me 3 names of some coaches that might need some help or are eager to learn and are just starting, the licensing process or whatever. And he'll talk to those 3. He'll watch some sessions. He'll meet with them afterwards. Hey, have you thought about doing this? And it's the same thing. It's not like you got to do this, you got to do that.
Right.
We don't want to take the creativity or their own personality. We want everybody to have their own art about how they go about it.
Yeah. I've noticed that.
But
I've noticed that this weekend.
Yeah, but it's more like we talk about guided discovery with our players. It's like with the coaches. Have you thought about doing this? Hey, would you think this would work? And it's more
What
of
would
like,
you do differently here?
Yeah. And look, we've all run a practice where you walked off and went, wow, that was bad.
Yep.
Like, or the team just wasn't, the training session as you thought it was going to be wasn't that, and it's like, okay, I'm just going to let these guys play at the end. Let's see if we can get something out of it. Everybody's gone through that, but it's like when you go in and you start talking about how you can help those coaches, it's really been a huge thing for us, not just the summit and the expo, but to have that person as knowledgeable as Mark is to go to training sessions and show up in Genesee, and the next night he's in Downriver, and then he's in Jackson, and just to have the ability for coaches now, I think, look at it, and instead of being like, oh, is he coming to talk to me? It's more of like, hey, Mark, can you come up? Like, it's a mentor situation, and it's something that I think our staff enjoys now.
Yeah.
It's something that I think is a big asset for a club like ours, any club really, to have somebody like that going around.
Talk about your satellites a little bit. Like, let me think of a club that no longer exists. Okay, Lobos, right? Let's say they call you and they want to join, or they want to be a part of Jags.
Yeah.
What goes into that of you saying, one, yes, and like do you research the club and see their development patterns or their style of play, or what players have they had, or anything like that? And then what do they, if they do become a satellite of yours, other than Z coming out? I love hearing that Z, because a lot of clubs, I'm not going to name names, but a lot of clubs, they become a satellite or an affiliate in name only. Just to use that name to maybe get into a platform or something like that where they otherwise couldn't have.
For sure. And I think we've always said, when Scobie and I have talked about this for a long time, we don't want to be that group that you just, you give us a certain amount of money per player and then you can just wear the jersey and do whatever you want. That was just never felt right.
It's like some European clubs do.
It just never felt right to us, and we've always wanted to try to help grow. So I think the biggest thing for us is when somebody contacts me, I sit down with them, and it starts very small at first, and it's why are you interested in us? Like, what are you looking for? Because if they want 10 different things and I can only provide 2 of them,
why do you need me?
Yeah, why are we doing?
Yeah.
So, and a lot of it is, well, we're so small, and we need somebody to do the website. We don't have marketing. We don't have a player development program. We don't, and all things that we have. Then it makes sense, right? So I think it's first trying to figure out what they want, what they're looking for, and whether it's a good fit. Are we like-minded? Do we see things the right way, the same way? Not everything, but right? Do we think we can get along and have a relationship? So that's the big things. What are the things that they're looking for that they need help with, making sure that we can do that. And as we've gotten bigger and better, we can do more, right? So a lot of times we can. And then from there, we sit down and we create a memorandum of understanding that basically goes back and forth for sometimes days, sometimes weeks, and it's just putting things that are important, things that we're going to continue to honor in those areas, in those geographic areas, and we kind of put a deal together, and then we get the staff together and talk about that, because that's another important thing, right? Is your staff, your existing staff, do they want this?
Right.
Because we don't want to be anywhere where we're not wanted. Yeah, we're not I'm going to stick a flag in the ground and try to get kids. We want to work in communities where people want us to be there, right? And I think that's an important piece to it. So, yeah, there's some dialogue. Look, some of the things that have happened with other people in other communities are just based on the fact that relationships that we've had for a long time, right? But some of them are people that I have never talked to, and it's just trying to get to know each other a little bit and trying to figure out if it can work. The memorandum of understanding is an important piece that goes back and forth, because a lot of things you talk about for hours prior to making a big jump to become the Jags and change your name, that you have to make sure you have those details documented, and it's something that can always fall back on when and if there's ever a question.
I think as I've usually been part of smaller clubs, and I think that if I did a pretty good job of being a feeder club, and I keep on continuously losing 4-5 players per year to like a club like Jags, I should just become Jags, because you know what I mean. Because it's like it. I loved being with Matt Pokovitz and being a feeder club to send kids to Hawks Vardar.
Yeah.
And this 12 years ago now, and. Again, about that identity crisis. It's like we knew what we were. We knew that, hey,
sure,
we're gonna take them so far, and then we need help.
Yep.
And I think, like, how many times does one of your satellites send a kid to your MLS Next club or your GA team? It's like, you need to go to the GA, event in Florida because you're at that level.
For sure, and I think that's important. It's really important, and I don't think it happens in every organization. And look, there's times when it doesn't even happen in ours, but we have a process. We have the recommendation from the directors and the coaches that funnel into our director of operations for Girls Academy, Dan Elzacchio, and then Boys Academy with Ryan Rowe. And so then these kids are invited to come train. So if there's 2 boys in Dearborn and 2 girls in Lansing, and those guys at the branches feel like those kids are good enough, then they come on and train with the GA or the MLS here at the main hub, and they get the opportunity to do that not just once or twice, but to see if it's a good fit, right? And so that's an important piece to it, and I think it's like we said, like we're pushing kids from MLS Next to Cincinnati or Dallas.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do for our branch leaders to push those kids when they're ready and when they're good enough. And we have kids that are good enough that aren't doing it, but they don't want to. They don't want to drive the hour.
Or they don't want to live with a host family,
Yeah.
or they want to, like, stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's a commitment. You have to be good enough, but you also have to have the ability to get to all the training sessions, and so. But having all of those branches has definitely helped our player pool, and I think over the last couple of years we've really done a better job of getting organized internally, so that people have a conversation, right? We have we did a monthly meeting where we have the branch leaders in person, lunch, we talk, we have an agenda, things that we're going over, things that are coming up, the birth year change, all of that stuff. So we do that once a month, and we bring in the admins and we bring in marketing, and at some point those people leave us, and sometimes it's just soccer people, and we talk, and a lot of it is building that chemistry with, an Eric Rudlin in Northville, Johnny Mack in Downriver, Kevin Tuitt, and it's having those people. And then we're talking about why is it important for the players to get pushed on to the next level, because the more competitive we are at that level, the more kids want to come and play for West Bloomfield or Downriver or Dearborn, whatever it is. So I think it's a process.
Yeah.
But having those other areas has been it's been outstanding for us as far as figuring out kids in different communities that want to come and play at the MLS or GA level.
Right. What are you guys doing with the year change? MLS is staying the same, right? Well, the academy can go birth year?
So MLS Homegrown is the only organization that I'm aware of that is staying as is today.
And then the academy, MLS Academy, is switching.
Yeah, and that makes sense, I think, because those kids are playing in high school anyways,
Yeah.
right? And so I guess if you look back at the main reason, I think, is why it's happening is at the grassroots level, they want more kids playing in the same grade, right? And so
less gap year or less trap players. Yep.
Right. So I think from that respect, it's a good thing. Anytime there's change, and we went through one how many years ago? 7-8 years ago, whatever it was, maybe.
And you're again.
So I think anytime there's change, it creates anxiety, and parents, and players are super nervous about it because they're comfortable in their club and their team, and they like their current team. Most people, right? Some don't, but and then all of a sudden you're saying, well, this is going to change. Well, now my team might not be as competitive, or maybe they are. The reality of it is, it's for us. We've done some weeks of training. I think this next week is one of them where we have taken the winter training schedule, thrown it away, and then recreated it with next year's age groups.
I like that.
So that's going on. That'll go on at least once or twice, a couple different weeks, depending on which branch it is. And so that's part of it. During those sessions, we'll have directors that are talking to parents and making sure that they're hearing what we're doing. And then we already have our documents of all the players and where they fit for next year.
Yeah.
And so now it's evaluating them over the course of the year. We're putting our coaching assignments together even earlier because, coaches will be the driving force of getting player commitments internally, and then having kids that are coming out from other areas. And then, for the most part, I think, there are smaller branches where we'll have to combine age groups in order to happen, and that's
okay.
That's okay. Yeah. So it's not one set rule for everybody. We've developed a plan in each location that works for them and helps them retain the most amount of players.
I got a DM about that yesterday. A player, I forget where they're from, high ECNL player, and she's going to be moving down, and she's like, oh, she has to play U14 again. I'm like, yeah, she's going to be the best player in her team. And it's like, that's kind of brilliant. And then the parent was like, and then I might have her play on a boys team. And I go, perfect, like a side team and stuff like that. And I immediately thought of Chloe Ricketts. One of yours.
Yeah.
So Chloe, was she Tigers?
She was Tigers. I think she played for
With
the
the
Hawks
boys.
too. Yeah, she played on that 07 boys team for the Tigers. That was outstanding.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of great talent. So
and then she came over here.
Yeah.
And then played 1 or 2 years in your GA, right? And then
Well, yeah,
Yes,
and
no.
it's funny because Chloe was a great reminder for me that I have to constantly try to be more open-minded to what's changing. And I'll give you an example. We were walking off the field. I was coaching that U19 GA team at the time.
Okay.
And that had her and Amalia and just a lot, Vic Miller, and a lot of great players that played on that team. It was a fun team to be around. And I was walking off the field, and we were playing at the Michigan Stars building. We just got done playing the Nationals, and they were walking together. And I said, "So, hey," I said, "Amalia, I know you're pretty far along in the process, but if you need anything, you need me to reach out or help in any way, make sure your parents know that I'm always here, and let me know." And she's like, "Oh, I'm good. She was close to committing to Texas, I think, at the time.
Okay.
And so I looked at Chloe and I said, "How about you? Do you need any help?" Because Chloe's a year behind Amaya, and she goes, "No." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, if you ever need anything, what schools are you thinking about?" She's like, "Well, I'm not thinking about school. I'm actually going to try to play professionally right away." And I'm like, "Oh, well, Chloe, you should definitely, that's awesome. You should have a backup plan, and maybe we should talk with your parents about, She's like, "I've got a couple schools as a backup plan," and she's like, "I'll be fine." And I'm like,
North Carolina.
Yeah,
That's my backup.
Florida State, So I was like, "Oh, okay." So, and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, well, I mean, it's awesome that she wants to play professionally, but I should circle back to the parents. Well, fast forward 3 months later, and her dad, Cade, calls me and she was like, "Yeah, she's going on, she's going to train in Washington," and I, can't really say much right now, but I'm like, "But what? She might not be back?" And she's like, "No, I think she might be staying there." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So here's, old school mentality of me trying to help say, "Hey, what about, college?" And she kind of looked at me like, "No, I'm going to be playing professionally soon." So it's, there's constant reminders, which is a great thing of how quickly things are changing. And it's great I think for the girls and for the women's teams to have those opportunities now to do what she's done.
What do you guys do for parent education? Do you guys have somebody in charge of that, or are you guys just trying to be as transparent as possible, and going on this show is transparency?
Yeah. I think, we try to be as transparent with everybody we can.
Yeah.
Obviously, you get a lot of questions. We have a great staff of directors, so a lot of times it's, it's like a James in Novi or Faraz or Andy in Huron Valley. They answer a lot of the questions, right, from the parents. Probably our biggest weakness from a standpoint of the way we've looked at it from a parent education standpoint, we don't give them enough information. I think we need to do a better job of that. This Birth Year Change is a prime example. Now, in saying that, we have a monthly meeting where we talk about the age group change. We have somebody like James and Frost who have organized a meeting for all the parents that are at U11 or U12, and what does it mean to go to 11v11? What are the different platforms? We do the college recruiting meetings where parents can hop on. So we do. I just don't know that we do enough. And I think when we look at it, quite honestly, and I say this in staff meetings, if you're not educating the parents, there's probably a parent that thinks or does know or thinks they know is educating the rest of them.
Exactly.
And so
that can go in one of two ways.
It can get out of control depending on what's being talked about, right? So it's something that we try to focus on. I think we do a good job. I don't think we do a great job. And there's a lot more that we can do. New parent orientation, what is club soccer? What is this about? What is it? I tell people in my old neighborhood, when my kids were younger, they're like, "We want to get involved in soccer. When can we do more? When can we?" And I'm like, "Hey, enjoy it, because as soon as your kid gets to a certain age, and if they're going to be a high-level player, you're in it." I said, so enjoy the junior Jags, enjoy the MSDSL time where they're 7 or 8, and, because 12, 13, and next thing you know, you're in California, you're in Florida.
And then they're 30.
Yeah. I'm going through that.
Right.
2 daughters in college. So,
right.
I think that's the message too, is instead of worrying where they are or where they're going, or if you're in the right environment, if they're having fun, if they're making friends, if they've got the right coaching, enjoy the journey instead of being so fixated on what's the end? Where are they? What are they? You have to have goals, and you have to, but as a parent, enjoy it. Enjoy the journey. Be supportive.
Because you're gonna miss these days.
Oh, I my daughter played from U7 to U19, and I try to get to as many games as possible. And yeah, I miss it. It's.
Are you still coaching? Are you still like on the field right now?
No, that U19 girls team that I spoke about was the same year when Mark and the Rush guys were all coming over, and so I was with the girls. I was trying to organize that and get that over the line, and I think coming out of COVID, even before that, the importance of the business aspect of our club, and any club at that point, was really important. So I've become more of the person in the office, the 9 to 5. We have a very structured week. We meet with marketing on Mondays at 10 o'clock. We've got an admin meeting, and at shortly after I do a branch leader meeting. I try to once a week with each person. So sometimes it's
wow.
Sometimes it's Johnny Mack and I. Hey, do you have anything for me? No. Do you want? No. Okay.
Okay.
So we cancel, right? But
yeah.
One of the things that was becoming very apparent is always trying to organize when people could meet. And it's like herding cats, right?
Yeah,
and so we have a set time. Eric Rudlin and I talk.
Every Monday at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
It's Eric.
Eric Rudlin and I are Thursday 8:30.
Exactly.
Kevin Tuitt calls me on the way to school at UD Jesuit on Wednesday at 6:30 in the morning, right? So that's the earliest one I do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we don't have anything, so we don't want to waste each other's time. But it's important to have that touch point of, hey, what's going on? What can I help you with? And sometimes there are some doozies going on that you want to know about well ahead of time. Yeah, for sure.
Do those directors all coach, or is it hit or miss?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different. Most everybody coaches. Mark doesn't have a team, Mark Zathy, but most everybody else is still involved. One of the things we've tried to do is the people that are running the branches or the locations,
let's have
try
one
to coach
team.
less. Yeah.
Just one team.
Yeah, because what was one of the biggest weaknesses with us is, okay, you're a director, you got 4 teams, you're coaching Monday through Thursday, 5 to 8, and you can't see anybody else, right? So
Right.
you can't help other people. Part of why we've got people in a position like Mark, but it's still an important piece to be in and around. So they do, and some coach more than others.
Right.
But we're trying to, every year when we look at it, it's like, okay, can you coach less teams but be more impactful on your staff and the players and the parents in your organization?
I mean, as a director, you're probably getting if you're coaching 2-3 teams and you're getting an email about something that happened with a different team, and you're like, I didn't even know about this.
Sure.
I haven't talked to the coach. I'm too busy planning my sessions or traveling to wherever. And it's like, I think maybe it's the size of the club. The larger the club, I don't think the directors should necessarily coach a lot or shouldn't be on the field, because like you have so much. Would you agree that most coaching directors are really directors of parents and not directors of coaching?
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for that.
It's a hard question.
Yeah, no, and yeah, and I think I can agree with that statement.
Because they're on their phones with their parents most of their time.
Yeah.
They're not actually directing the coaches.
Yeah, and
Sorry.
I think look, I think it's a piece of it, but yeah, a lot of it is the parent interaction, especially right now with everybody going through a change, right? And so that interaction with parents,
a lot of stress out there.
yeah, is important. And I think, look, the reality of it is, come August, when these new teams just go to a tournament or they play, or it's gonna feel the same, right? It'll takes people to get there.
Yep.
And we're trying to, like, I have some staff too that are like, God, this is such a, that it's negative, and we're trying to tell everybody too, like, this is an opportunity for new teams, new roles within a team, like you
freshen
talked
it
about.
up a little bit.
Yeah.
So, especially guys that might be burnt out or like a little bit like,
For sure.
I'm burnt out of this team,
For
but
sure.
I get 6 new players that I didn't have before, and it's like a new team all over.
And for players and for parents. And so
Exactly.
we're trying to tell the same thing. Like, we're trying to help parents too. Like, how you react to this and how you act in front of your kids will shape what they think of this too, right? Like, hey, this could be exciting. Let's do this. Like, yeah, it's a change, but this is also a life lesson, which we talk about in our club all the time, right? Like, that's what you get through the game, is life lessons. And this is a change. It's got nothing to do with, with you, but let's make the best of it. And so, other than, I can't believe our team's breaking up and God, all the negative stuff, it's going to happen regardless, right? So
Yeah.
let's be positive about it and create those exciting opportunities. And sometimes change is good. and
Absolutely.
and yeah, it helps you evolve as a person and as a player. So
Thanks for doing this, dude.
yeah, I love it. Thanks
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here.
I mean, and this happened by accident because I forgot about it because I've been trying to get Doug on all the time, and he's
Yeah.
like, oh, and then because of the weather, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay in Michigan until Monday because
Yeah.
really all I'm doing is moving.
Yeah.
I'm in the process of, and so I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go out here and to have 85 colleges represented,
Yeah.
100 scouts,
Yeah.
and then all these teams. I mean, I know a couple couldn't make it because of the weather, but it's freaking awesome that in Michigan's backyard,
Yeah.
this is your how many years? Whose idea was this back in the day? Yours?
Yeah, I don't even know. Maybe.
But it's
been
brilliant.
going on so, yeah, we slowly started doing more of these just because we felt like years ago, you know what it was like, the Raleigh Shootout,
Oh,
Disney,
yeah.
all that. Yeah, there was 300 colleges
It's
there,
so
but there's
big.
30 fields, right? So
Exactly.
for us, it was working with as many local clubs as we could.
Yep.
Getting all the best players here.
Yep.
And then getting the coaches here. And it's not rocket science. It's people want to be, and so fortunate here with Wixom, 3 11v11 fields
Yep.
inside at this time of year is really important. And yeah,
hard to
it's grown.
find.
Yeah, and kudos to Derek and Scobie because they've really tried to elevate the level. Now we have 3 girls and 3 boys showcases over the course of the winter, and it's kind of tiered. Last week, Joe Ahern and Pete pulled off a great one that was mostly MLS Next level players, and I think they
Yeah.
had 50, 60 colleges here going on at the same time as the convention, right? So there was a lot of to get that amount of people here
Yeah.
from a college standpoint was great. But yeah, it's something that we take pride in. We want to build it. You know the amount of money that we spend per hour to put these things on from a field perspective. It's one of the definite things where we go, okay, can we try to break even? But it's just so good for our players, right? Like you said, in our backyard, and you see the college coaches in here. It's great.
And I didn't even think about that because I'm thinking of like Fest, and there's like 24 fields and tons of coaches, but yeah, you're walking and you're gonna miss a lot. Here, 3 fields, and
Yeah.
you could just go boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
and it's impressive.
No, I appreciate it. And look, there also fields are kind of tiered usually by age groups too, right? So like if you're a smaller school that's still recruiting seniors, there's a field of juniors and seniors. If you're a Power 5 that's now looking at all the sophomores, there's a game of some of the younger players going on. So they do a pretty good job of scheduling that. And the college soccer landscape, you've got such a variance of levels that coaches are here looking for different players at different times all the time.
And Matt Pakovitz used to always say this too. It's like there's a college out there for everybody. It's up to you if you really want to play college soccer. Some people just have the dream of the Power 4 and like I'm gonna play at Michigan State, and then they don't even think about Wayne State, or
Absolutely.
something like that.
Yeah. And I think it's a big challenge to educate the players and the parents. And I think Joe and Derek and they're like we have a college point of contact in each branch that tries to help support that and educate them on that, on making decisions. But it's true. You can play. I would say most every kid on our first or second team could find a place to play in college if they wanted to. But it's what are you willing to sacrifice to do it? And so that's a big part of it. If you want to be at a big school like Michigan State, well, obviously they're a very good program, U of M, and there's a lot of them around. It's hard. It's hard to break into those schools. Now, if you wanted to go to a smaller school, but now you're talking about maybe 1,100 kids in your school, might be smaller than your high school, but you can play college soccer there. But is it worth the sacrifice of not having the social life and the things that you were probably looking for from a bigger campus, right?
Absolutely.
So all those factors that go into it, and it's great for us to at least have the opportunity, where you've got Big Ten schools here all the way to local junior colleges to NAIA schools. And
Like I'm standing next to the Indiana University, and I have like Cliff from Toledo, and Western's here, and Michigan State's here, and Kentucky.
Yeah.
I have a player at Kentucky, and Kentucky's here. It's like, well, Pitt's here. It's phenomenal, man.
Yeah. Well,
Thank
I
you
appreciate
so
your support.
much.
Love seeing you, and
absolutely.
appreciate you being at the expo and now at this. And big
Can't
fan
wait
of
for
what you're
that.
doing.
Can't wait for
I
that.
didn't understand the name at first, but from talking to you a little bit, I love it.
Why do you hate soccer? Oh my God, you wouldn't believe how many kids at Fest. Why do you hate soccer? Why are you here if you hate soccer? I'm like, all right, dude.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
Take care.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode of the I Hate Soccer podcast. If you feel stuck in your recruiting process, we created a guide that includes feedback from 15 college coaches and 10 current college soccer players. Inside this guide, you'll find out what really works in recruiting, from showcases, ID camps, highlight reels, and more. Check it out at playmakertraining.com/recruited.
I hate soccer.